You're watching Eyewitness Newsmakers.
We return with Senator Huff to talk about the bill he authored that targets the misuse of bond money. And you point out in this measure that between 1970 and 2004, voters approved $77 billion in general obligation bonds in some 34 years. But just since 2006, voters have okayed $54 billion in bonds. Obviously, this is the way California wants to go and how it raises money. What does this bill do, and why do you think you need it?
Well, the bill would have some mechanism for Department of Finance, that's the executive branch, the governor's office, to look at how the bond money is being spent, and if it's not following the letter of the law, have a little bit of teeth in it. Right now, if somebody misuses bond funds, they say, well, we disagree, or oops, they can turn around and do it again with no consequences. So this allows some consequences, some cease and desist, get your act in order, you're not getting any more of these funds.
Well, but you've pointed out Clean Water Act money spent on employee memberships for red carpet clubs at the airport, on yoga memberships. Right. This isn't just sort of bad spending, that's abuse of the money, isn't it?
It is abuse, and yet part of the problem that we had in trying to figure out how do you rein this in is if you find them, well, what are they going to pay it with? Well, bond money, because that's where they get their resources. So this becomes a little bit of a problem, but we believe that we've crafted it in such a way that if you dry up the source of money, they will tend to be acting better in the first place and not getting into these problems of misuse.
Well, this misuse, though, I mean, who oversees that? Is there some general agency that's adding up all the columns to make sure it's going where it's supposed to?
Yeah, Department of Finance is the main auditor that looks at bond use funds. There are others. There used to be an Inspector General office that Governor Schwarzenegger started that had the ability to look into this as well.
Which was headed by our former controller in Los Angeles, Laura Chick, for a time.
Exactly. And to the degree that there is state money that's misused, you have to be looking at that to see how it's spent, but then you also have to have some repercussions if it's spent wrong, and that's what my bill's trying to do.
Looking ahead, Senator, there's another issue we want to talk about, public employee pension reform. The governor touched on it. There has been some discussion of some kind of hybrid 401k system. Have you weighed in on this, and if you have, what have you said?
Yeah, I was part of the discussion last year with the GOP 5 that became the GOP 4. I was the silent guy in the background as vice chair of budget. We were trying to work with the governor, the Democrats, get something. And the pension was the bright spot. We almost came to getting that wrapped up, and what the governor trotted out with his 12-point plan was pretty much what we ended up with last year. So we've been involved in those discussions. The backdrop to that is virtually everybody says our system is unsupportable. It's either $100 billion underfunded or $500 billion underfunded over the next 20 years. We have to change that soon, or we're going to be toppled by yet one more big budgetary crunch.
It's said that there are 3 times as many employees leaving state government as are going into it. So therefore, whatever they're paying into this fund isn't enough.
Right.
So when we're talking about $100 billion underfunding, or if there was some massive exodus in state government, who pays those pensions?
Well, that's part of the problem. Right now, it takes the newer employees to help pay for it, and that's why you can't go to a totally hybrid system, because there'd be nobody there to help pay for the pensions that we already have a contractual obligation to fulfill. So you see a partial hybrid or new hires, some kind of system that'll help keep that money flow going to the existing pensioners, but not totally bankrupt the system.
How close is the state legislature to reaching some consensus on this? This seems to me to be a kind of a ticking time bomb.
It is a ticking time bomb. It's one that doesn't bite you right now, but every year that we put it off, I mixed my metaphors there, but every year you put it off, you create a bigger problem, and so we absolutely have to tackle that. To the degree that the Republicans have signaled we're willing to help implement this, and the governor's on board, now it's a matter of getting more of the Democrats and, frankly, the public employee unions to agree to it as well.
And so finally, Senator, in our last 30 seconds, looking ahead, your goals for this 2012.
Well, 2012 is a fascinating year. It's going to be driven by the budget. We have some big items that are high cost out there that we have to wrestle with. And as the minority leader, try to keep peace in the family as we move forth in an election year as well. It complicates things.
Senator Bob Huff, Diamond Bar, thank you so much for stopping in today.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. We'll see you again.